My name is Amaryllis. I make a lot of Pokemon content, very similar to Mr. Nighthawk.
Ooh, Mister.
Um, Mr. Nighthawk. I started out on YouTube making a lot of Call of Duty montages, so that's where a lot of some old editing may come in. However, I like to keep things very simple for my videos. And yeah, I got really interested in the Battle Frontier, and when I found Nighthawk making videos on that as well, I got inspired to make him as well, and here we are.
Not to go on a side tangent too much, but I gotta send you my Call of Duty montages from years ago.
No, I played a lot of Call of Duty in my high school days. Unfortunately, I think there's only one video up now that I have, and it's not very good, but
I'm pretty sure it's amazing. All right, so I got let's actually just hop right into the team. So at a high level, what are the Pokemon you got? What are they trained to do? And yeah, just give us some overview of it.
okay, so the team is Glalie, Steelix, and Suicune. I'll just start off with Glalie because that's probably the most oddball one that everybody's
Mm-hmm.
kind of looking at. So Glalie is EV trained in 252 special attack, 252 speed, and 6 in attack. And it has 31 IVs in speed, special attack, and defense randomly. But Glalie just there to set up spikes, use Ice Beam, and then explode. So it has the Salac Berry on it, so then when it's time to explode, it's gonna outspeed pretty much everything. After the Salac Berry boost, it's like 486 speed. So it's outspeeding pretty much everything. And one cool thing about it as well is Endure. So there's a specific Aerodactyl in the Battle Tower that outspeeds it and one-shots it with Ancient Power Choice Band. So again, when it hits 480 speed, it outspeeds everything. So you can Endure Salac that, and then Ice Beam one-shots it. So it's basically a 2-for-1. You get rid of an Aerodactyl, and then you explode on the next Pokemon and switch into your sweeper, which is really fun. Yeah, it was actually a very fast breeding process for him too. It only took me like maybe like 4 hours to like breed for him in
It's not
total.
long at all.
Um, no, he was very quick. Probably the most lengthy part about it is the fact that Spikes is a egg move, so you had to breed a Cacturn with Spikes onto Roselia, and then Roselia with Snowrunner Glalie, and just going through all the trading and breeding process, and that was annoying. But no, it's very good. Steelix EVs are 252 HP, 98 special defense, and 160 speed. It has perfect IVs. It's 6 IV.
Jeez.
There's a
Oh,
ace
do that?
method. Yeah, so there's a method for Fire Red and Leaf Green where you can generate competitive eggs, and it just gives them 6 IVs. So that's what I did with this guy, just to kind of test it out. I also did this with Suicune, spoiler alert, but just to see how much like the IVs actually like make a
Mm-hmm.
difference. And this Steelix, the moveset is Roar, Torment, Rest, and Protect with the leftovers. So he's just going out there to stall, as well as Roar. He can basically, when Glalie sets up spikes, you can basically roar an entire team, and the spikes will kill him. So
Some good
that's
synergy.
another
Yeah.
fun thing to do. Yeah, and then lastly, Suicune. It's just a basic Calm Mind sweeper. It's 252 HP, 252 defense, and 6 in special attack. So basically, you can switch it in after either Steelix PP stalls, or you can switch it in on a Pokemon that can't do anything to Suicune, and you just Calm Mind as much as you can, and then murder the team.
So this is for, we're talking Battle Tower, right? I'm gonna assume.
Yeah, this is for the Battle Tower. You use all three. I do have other variants of a Glalie team that can do Battle Dome, but this team is specifically meant for the Battle Tower.
What's the highest streak you've gotten with this set of Pokemon or this variation of the team?
I believe so. We got to round 9 with this team,
Wait,
and
what
I
is
think it
that
was
in battles? 990? Or is it, no, sorry, 9 times 7, right? Like 63.
yeah, it was. I think we got to battle. I think we got 66 was the
It's
streak.
pretty good.
It was pretty good, and like I know a lot of it was probably like people looking at Suicune, but
Mm-hmm.
Glalie actually did a lot of the work with it. It was actually a lot of Glalie and Steelix near the end.
First of all, I'm very happy you're running Steelix. Yeah, as a Steelix lover myself, connoisseur or whatever, I'm very happy to see the Steelix. Yeah, the build on it. This is, what is that one dude? The guy who's got like the world record in the battle tower. This is kind of what that person used to like PP stall or gain control of the match and information in it, and then use like some setup Pokemon to kind of sweep everything. It's kind of the idea behind this.
Yeah, so that was actually one of my favorite teams I ever found on the little frontier discussion. Was the Moltres, Steelix, and I think it was a Blissey they used, where it's just a complete stall team. And the way it works with this team is more so, and we can dive deeper into this with the strengths and weaknesses portion. The biggest thing for this is like electric types. So using Steelix as a way to kind of stall out the electric types is really helpful.
Let's go to Glalie. I got like probably 5 questions about this Pokemon. So first of all, why Glalie? I can see Steelix, I can see Suicune, but I don't see you gotta sell me on this.
Okay, so Glalie, I get a lot of my Pokemon ideas from watching Jimothy Cool. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him.
I don't think I know this person.
So for anybody not familiar with Jimothy Cool, he does a lot of like Smogon type of videos, and one of his biggest things that he's really popular for is Generation 3 ADVOU. And for a time, he used Glalie as a lead, and basically what it would do was it would set up spikes and then explode, and it was basically a way to create a hyper offense team. So I was like, okay, can I make this work in the battle tower? Because hyper offense, you'll get to round 5 or 6 within like an hour, 2 hours, compared to like the other teams I was trying to make where it took like an hour just to complete one round, So I was gonna go ahead and test that out, saw all the moves that was available for her, and it just worked.
So, okay, maybe I wasn't in my head. I was thinking you're leading Steelix, but what you're explaining to me is that you're actually leading Glalie, setting up spikes, exploding, and then going into maybe Steelix and then controlling it until you get the Suicune.
Yeah. So early rounds, you always lead Glalie, but the early rounds, Glalie can basically just Ice Beam everything. Up for the first 3 rounds, Ice Beam into Explosion, like if it can't kill the last Pokemon, like it solos the first 3 rounds easy. Once you hit round 4, you maybe are setting up a spikes, Ice Beaming, and then exploding, and then you just switch into Suicune and Surf. But the later rounds, you always lead Glalie to try to set up at least one layer of spikes, because having an entry hazard is really important and competitive. And because spikes is the only entry hazard in this game, you're very limited. But the way spikes works is you get 12.5% damage, like 16% damage, and then 25% damage. So the first layer of spikes is always the most important chip damage. So when you have Pokemon like, I don't know, for example, a Salamence, that's easy Ice Beam bait, because so many trainers later in the round lead Salamence. Or if you have Pokemon like a legendary, for example, like a Regice. Regice isn't really going to do anything to Glalie, so you just set up a spikes, and then more than likely in the later rounds you don't automatically explode. You just hard switch. And that's kind of like the weird thing about it, is like halfway through the battle tower its playstyle changes.
I mean, I guess that makes sense too, because the Pokemon you're facing, and I think a lot more decisions to make.
Yeah. Of course, I chose like 2 Pokemon that are really like easy for this team to face off against, but as well as like the Lottie twins, for example. Ironically, you can't Ice Beam those because they will clap back at you harder. So you can go ahead and like set up a layer of spikes, and then usually you hard switch into Steelix. Steelix is actually the best option for the Lottie twins, just because once you set up Torment, you can stall out the Ice Beams, and then you can stall out the Thunderbolts, and then you're allowed to go ahead and set up with Suicune.
So I guess let's go to Suicune for a second. So pretty much Suicune is pretty much the backbone of the team in the sense that that is kind of how you're going to be dealing the most damage. I mean, obviously
Yeah.
Glalie does do it, but how I'm kind of looking at this is you're more reliant on Suicune.
Yeah, if you want to go ahead and compare like damage output, like Suicune is the damage dealer here. So like the goal, like the whole team is built around Annabelle's team because that's the end goal. Like if you can build a team that, you know, beats all the rounds but then just folds to Annabelle, then it's just not going to work.
Yeah.
So I was like, how am I going to make Suicune be able to sweep the entire team? Glalie basically does nothing against Annabelle. You just hard switch into the Raikou and stall out the Thunderbolts, and then you Calm Mind to 6 with Suicune, and then you basically one-shot everything.
The rest on Suicune, do you think that's like absolutely needed, or do you think that I'm just trying to think if there's like another move just to have more versatility, and then you could run like a different item like the Lumberry or something, or do you think just having that ability to get your health back is pretty good?
So rest is almost mandatory for me because I think when it comes to Suicune, it can do both. It can obviously sweep with Calm Mind, but the pressure ability is one of the best stalling tools as well in the Battle Tower. So although Steelix is the main Pokemon to stall with, you can also pivot and stall with Suicune by, you know, pressure stalling, as well as, you know, if you get paralyzed or anything like that, that's a big RNG factor for it. So just any possible way for you to get rid of that, as well as toxic, all these other really annoying status conditions. If you have control over that, then you're in a much better space.
So Steelix has got leftovers and rest. Would you consider maybe trading rest for like toxic or something, or do you think the team just doesn't need a move like toxic?
From my experience, toxic isn't something that's needed. It's something that I've considered, but with the way the team is trying to play, for the most part, if Glalie can one-shot everything with Ice Beam, then, or contest everything with Ice Beam, then that's kind of the main goal. Because if you set up one layer spikes and then Ice Beam something, then more than likely Ice Beam now becomes a 2-shot. Steelix, on the other hand, there are many times where Steelix has actually stalled out against Fire-type Pokemon. So
Really?
the rest actually came in super clutch because you can manipulate your rest turns with Protect by being slower for one turn and then being faster on the turn that you wake up with Protect. So
True, yeah.
So rest is almost mandatory. I've thought about putting the Lumberry, but it gets to a point where the leftovers against certain Pokemon, it just nullifies any damage that they take.
Yeah, the leftovers with the Protect and Torment Wombo combo on like a tanky Pokemon is like one of my probably top 5 favorite synergies for a Pokemon. It just feels so good.
There was many times where Steelix stalled out against water types. There was one where we stalled against a Porygon 2 that had Ice Beam, Psychic, Thunderbolt, Recover. And I miscounted the Ice Beams and everybody laughed at me.
Hey, it happens. This is the second conversation where a team had spikes, and man, it just spikes seems so good and so fun. I gotta try it out, but I'm thinking of putting it on a Skarmory, but I had no idea that Glalie could learn it. It doesn't really make sense, but
so one thing about Glalie too that is actually really funny, because I like this Spikes Explosion idea, because for people who don't know, when you either explode or self-destruct, one, it halves the defense of the other Pokemon, as well as when your Pokemon faints, the opponent player doesn't get a turn, basically. So you get to do damage to them and then switch in and kill whatever's there. So you just get so much tempo from Explosion. And Glalie is the fastest spikes Pokemon that can get spikes and explosion. Although I love Skarmory, I think it is probably the better spike setting Pokemon. Glalie is just faster and, you know, he's cooler.
That's arguable, but I'm just playing. So, as for Pokemon that give this team issues, I think I could probably see a few, but what's your experience with it?
So there's so many. And there's a lot of Pokemon I didn't think would give this team trouble that I've had to go ahead and be like, man, I got to set up a different game plan for this guy now. So obviously, water types is the biggest issue. That's kind of a no-brainer. Vaporeon, Milotic, Kingdra. Usually all of those in the later rounds is what I save Glalie's Explosion for. Just in case it happens. Like if I can set up spikes on a water type, then I just switch it out. Or on a Pokemon I'm not really scared of that I know Suicune can set up on, I'll just switch it out and save the Explosion for the water type instead. Just in case, because I know with my luck, there's going to be a water type as the third Pokemon.
That's how it is.
Another one is Snorlax. Snorlax is a big issue because if it sets up Curse, and then you get Curse Quick Claw, which, you know, if it happens, it happens, but it always happens. That's a big issue because Steelix can wall most Snorlaxes, but if we get into a struggle battle with a Snorlax that has leftovers instead of the Quick Claw, it basically turns into a soft lock, which is unfortunate. But and the last one that I know really bothers this team is Blissey. Blissey is just so annoying, and it's probably the biggest reason I will keep Rest on Suicune to be able to deal with the toxic double team Sing seismic toss combo that they have. It's so ridiculous.
So you didn't mention like a Blaziken or like a Charizard. I would think fire types would be pretty lethal, at least getting into Glalie and Steelix.
No, they're pretty easy, honestly.
Do you just swap right into Suicune?
Sometimes I think probably the biggest challenge was Typhlosion, because Typhlosion runs like Flamethrower, Thunder Punch, Earthquake, and like Aerial Ace or something. So realistically, depending on the speed tiers, either using Glalie to explode on it or just hard switching into Suicune. The only problem with Suicune against fire types is it is kind of slow. It's only at like 200 base speed. And usually my previous Glalie teams, what I would do is I would always hit like a base speed of 300. So the idea would be for them to, you know, Glalie to do his thing and then switch in, and then base 300, you're outspeeding about 80% of the tower.
Yeah, 300 at level 100, is that right?
Yeah. So like previous teams, I had like a Starmie and a Flagon, and Starmie was at 306 speed and the Flagon was at 300 flat. But it still had kind of the problem where they were just a little bit too weak to clean up after Glalie set up spikes.
One of the, I think I tried a team similar to this in the sense of like that Steelix build, just kind of like stalling the game out. I forgot what else I had. I think it was like a Dragon Dancing Tyranitar. Like one of the reasons why I could not make this successful is because my decision making was just awful. I guess how do you feel like using this team in the sense of like your decision making? Does it like, are you able to make pretty good decisions, or was it like a huge learning curve, I guess is what I'm trying to ask.
There's two answers for this, because I know we share a lot of the same viewers, obviously. And this team I actually took on stream, and my decision making turned into just a lot of gambling at the end. You know, the safe option is to rest. And I decide, you know what? Let's go ahead and surf the +6 evasion Registeel.
You gotta.
And then we hit the surf and everybody's mad because that was clearly the wrong decision to make. You know, rest, heal the toxic, play it slow, and then go from there. But you do have to be really thoughtful, specifically with Glalie, because like the whole point is like I wanted to build a team with Glalie. And everybody is looking at the team and they're like, just get rid of the Glalie. And I'm so stubborn that I refuse to. But no, like I said, you have to really kind of take into all aspects of what the battle tower has, because the moment that you kind of get too confident, too cocky about it is where you start to make mistakes. So once you hit probably round 7 with this team is when I really recommend pulling up like every resource you have with everything. You know, the trainers, which Pokemon they can have, the damage calculator, everything. Because you do really need to play very carefully with this team, especially if like you look at a trainer and you look at their team and there's the potential for them to have one of the threats that I mentioned. You don't want to explode on a Pokemon that you can either stall with Steelix or just set up on with Suicune. You want to hold that explosion for that Pokemon so then you can, get rid of it a lot easier.
I think it's just maybe some people that haven't used a team like this, it might seem maybe pretty linear or maybe relatively easy, but in some cases, maybe that's how it works. But there are so many very punishing decisions that you'll have to make. And if you make the wrong decision, it's pretty much just game. Like, again, like kind of you mentioned exploding on the Glalie maybe too early. Or if you lose your Suicune at like a certain part, like it puts you in an incredibly bad situation.
Yeah, there's a lot of times where, I got too greedy with Calm Mind and, a crit ended up killing it. So then I'm left with Glalie and Steelix if I haven't exploded with Glalie. So there are times when Steelix has to go ahead and you have to be very careful with it and turn into a struggle battle. And, for the most part, like the game plan is linear, set up spikes, explode, Calm Mind, kill him. That's if you're having a good day. But, when you face a Pokemon with, a one-hit KO move, you have to be really careful about that. You gotta think, okay, does this guy have an OHKO move? Is it safe to set up? Do I need to send in Steelix? There is a lot of thought that comes to this team, but that's pretty much every team, though. Every team you have to have some level of thought with.
Is there anything? I mean, me personally looking at this, I don't think I can see anything. But is there anything you think could change on to the team, maybe to improve your chances? Maybe getting to a new record with it.
Yeah, taking off Suicune probably.
For what, like Latias or something?
So the biggest problem with Suicune, and everybody's probably thinking that I'm crazy for this, but the biggest problem with Suicune is it is too slow. I need something that can do Suicune's job, which is, set up Calm Minds and rest, but then also have a diverse enough moveset to handle other Pokemon. So I've thought about using its twin Raikou, using like Thunderbolt and Hidden Power Ice with Calm Mind and Rest. I've thought about switching Suicune back to Starmie, but Suicune is just too slow for what the team is aiming to do.
You heard it here first. Suicune's too slow.
Suicune is too slow, baby.
But basically, for this slot on the team, in my head, you want something that can buff itself and I guess still have rest. Actually, maybe not, but definitely you need something to buff itself and then be fast. What can you learn? Does Starmie have like a buffing move, or did you just feel like it didn't need it?
So Starmie, I have the spit build Starmie.
What's that?
The spit build.
Oh, sorry,
Surf,
it cut out. I think for a second.
Yeah, Surf, Psychic, Ice Beam, and Thunderbolt. And realistically, I think probably the best Pokemon for this spot is probably Latios, and using something like Dragon Claw, Calm Mind, Substitute, and Recover. So then you could put the Chesto Berry back onto Steelix instead, and then put the Lumberry on Latios. That's probably the best change that I could think of right now.
Mm-hmm.
There's also a world where I also take off Steelix. No. And I know, but I think Steelix is something that needs to stay because like the last episode, because I watched the last episode because I thought it looked like a really cool team.
Which one is that?
The one with Umbreon, Marowak, Skarmory.
Gotcha.
And basically Glalie and Steelix are a separated Skarmory where you can have the Spikes plus Whirlwind combo.
Mm-hmm.
But that's down the line. I do want to keep Glalie and Steelix. It's really the third Pokemon that's supposed to kind of sweep that is up in the air.
What about like Gyarados Dragon Dance? You think that
Gyarados Dragon Dance, it could work. Probably something like Dragon Dance, Rest, Hidden Power Flying, and Earthquake. That's probably the best thing that I can do. Because flying types also is not an issue for this team. Glalie one-shots pretty much every single flying type.
yeah, with the Ice Beam.
Yeah. And like I said, anything that outspeeds it, like Aerodactyl, you just go ahead and endure Salac, and then now you're outspeeding it.
I guess, is there anything I haven't asked about this team yet that you want to share?
We went over most of my notes. I guess we can talk about like the natures if people are curious, like why I went like bold nature on Suicune or timid nature on Glalie, because timid reduces the attack and stuff.
I probably should have asked that earlier. I think, yeah, the bold nature on Steelix just makes sense. You're just increasing the defense. You don't need anything else or any of the attack moves. But yeah, let's go into Glalie and Suicune.
Yeah, so Glalie has timid nature because realistically, you don't want to lower any other of its defenses or its special attack for Ice Beam. So timid is like the best nature for it in this case, to be outspeeding things. And it's awkward because you're lowering your attack and having explosion, and then also putting some EVs into attack. But the biggest part is Glalie needs to outspeed, and because it is the only Pokemon that learns spikes and explode or self-destruct that is fast. The next fastest is, I think, Quillfish. So timid is the best for that. And then moving on to Suicune, bold nature, because having it switch in on Pokemon that are like physical attackers, you can set up Calm Minds on those rather than having to like stall something out with Steelix. So having bold plus like just insane HP and defense, there's like Machamp ain't doing nothing to him. But and then as for Steelix, it's really awkward for me to like have a Pokemon like have a nature where you don't put like EVs into it. But as you can see from the stats, there's really no reason for you to put any sort of EVs into its defense. You really want to put it like at pretty much everywhere else.
That was like something I had. It took a while to like learn and figure out, because in my head it's like, oh, let's train Steelix in like special defense or whatever, so then you put the special defense nature on it. But at least when I learned it, it's percentage based, and then the dots starting to connect. It's like you either do attack or defense on like a Pokemon like Steelix, and most likely defense, because that percentage increase on that base stat is off the scales.
Yeah, and then like putting any sort of EVs into it, like, yeah, you can have the max out number of like 600 because it's a cool number to have. But from my experience, 479 defense is still pretty good.
Yeah. So you don't need too much more.
No. So really putting it more into the HP and then special defense, you're able to live those flamethrowers. Now you're able to live those surfs, those ice beams, and then you're able to set up torment, and then you're able to rest and then protect. And you see how it slowly, you gain control with Steelix on those Pokemon that are really problematic.
All right. Well, that's pretty much all I think I have for questions on this team. So let's move on to the second half of the podcast, kind of where we just ask random questions and go into maybe different topics. But one question I love asking, because I like to hear everybody's, I guess, what they would share about what they've learned about playing these games. So what's some advice you would give to people, I guess, regarding the Battle Frontier, maybe just playing Pokemon?
So obviously, have fun with it. Like that's the main goal, is always to have fun with it. Don't take it so serious. It is a children's game that we're playing.
Nonsense.
but I think the thing to remember too is, like Nighthawk always preaches, pick guys that you like, because I had the Metagross, Latios, Swampert team, and I got silver in the battle tower with it, and I just hated every second of it, just because I didn't like the team. I didn't like the Pokemon. It was just kind of a mindless A pressing, scenario. So I decided, I was like, well, let's go ahead and build wacky Pokemon. So You can really get gold with any Pokemon. So my goal right now is Glalie. So pick ones that you really want to have fun with. There's another creator, Beaveries. He makes so many different teams that it's quite frankly hard to keep up with. But he has gotten to like round 8, 9, 10 with basically any Pokemon you can think of. He's currently on like round 18 of the tower or something crazy like that with one of my favorite Pokemon, which is like the Moltres stall team. So, I would say, pick a Pokemon that you like and then build your team around that. So, find the weaknesses of it, go ahead and, build around that.
I think that's a good point is maybe pick one Pokemon that you like love like a lot. And then, like you said, build around that. Because I think, like, at least I have the habit of being like, hey, I like those 3 Pokemon. I'm going to use those. But there's no like synergy. They don't fill each other's gaps. It's just overlaying overlaying the weaknesses, which just puts you in all these weird and terrible situations that are probably unfun. But if you just pick one Pokemon, build the other 2 around that to compensate for what it lacks, probably have a pretty good experience and you get to still use your favorite Pokemon.
Yeah, and I'd say too, don't get too caught up on the IVs either. The reason I used this Steelix and Suicune was because I was like, well, let's see how much IVs actually matter. And I mean, I won't tell you that they don't matter, but it's such a minute thing where if you have a Pokemon with good IVs, but maybe it's like a nature that isn't necessarily the one you're, going for, then I would definitely use that Pokemon. For example, it's not shown here, but I have a Venusaur that has like a neutral nature, and I wanted it as a calm or careful nature, I believe. But the IVs on it were insane. Like 4 or 5 out of the 6 stats were 30 or 31. So I was like, well, can't really pass that one up. As well as, really the biggest part that matters is the nature. The nature is the biggest thing that matters. So realistically, if you don't like using glitches or anything like that, then the Suicune that you get in Fire Red, where the only stat it can be good in is HP, then that one is just as good as the one I'm using. So don't get too caught up on IVs either.
I think, what is it, like that 80-20 rule or whatever? In my head, just generalizing it, like 80% of the value of maybe the Pokemon is in the EVs and nature, and then like that extra little bits, like getting the max IVs. Like obviously there's a pretty big difference between 0 IVs and 31, but for the most part, you're going to be somewhere in like the teens maybe. So and it takes so much more time to get those IVs unless you're going to do like the RNG manip or something else like that. But at least, yeah, nature, EVs, pretty much, it's a pretty strong Pokemon.
Yeah, for a long time, I got really caught up on IVs. And then I saw a video where someone in Generation 4, had Pokemon where every single IV was at 0. And they were able to get the gold symbol just through using their resources, checking the trainer's Pokemon, so on and so forth. So it kind of opened my eyes, or I'm like, 1 or 2 IVs is good enough. So that's usually what I aim for when I'm using like actually breeding, which is usually my preferred method, just because it feels better, actually breeding the Pokemon.
Mm-hmm. All right, I got another fun question if you're ready.
Oh, lay it on me.
If you were a member of the Elite Four or some gym leader, what would your niche be? What were some Pokemon you would use? What would be your theme?
I've been thinking about that question all day since I watched the episode from today.
Glad you're prepared.
Know.
Oh, you're prepared.
No, because I have such a, what's it called? Decision paralysis.
Analysis paralysis.
Because there's so many different things that I would want to do. Because water type is my favorite type in the game, so it's like really easy for me to like choose the water type. But I guess I would probably go water type and like have like Blastoise and Suicune and probably a Starmie. I'll probably be my 3 guys, because I always picture gym leaders as always having like 3 Pokemon. I hate it when they have like more than 3 or less than 3.
I always pictured like 6, and then they pick 3 out of the 6. It was something like, I don't know if that was from like one of the shows or something, but in my head, that's what I always thought.
I think the thing is too in like the show, they talk about having like different teams for different trainers. Like if you're a trainer with 0 badges, you use this team. If you're a trainer with like 5 badges, they use a different team. That type of thing. So I guess probably would have like probably wouldn't use a Suicune on a guy with just a Charmander, but you know, I probably have like what's it called? Probably a Carvana for those people without a gym badge to learn about abilities like Rough Skin.
So is like Suicune, Blastoise, and Starmie some of your favorite Pokemon?
Oh, absolutely. Suicune is probably my favorite legendary right now. Blastoise is my favorite Kanto starter. And Starmie has slowly become one of my favorite Pokemon through the Battle Frontier.
Starmie's shiny is so cool.
Don't.
I gotta get one.
I hate it shiny.
You hate it? Look how cool it is.
I hate that shiny.
It looks. Wait, you just don't like the colors, or what? What's the beef with it?
I think the Generation 3 shiny is okay, but I like Staryu shiny a lot more. I like the white and blue eye. I think it's blue. I think the purple with the gold and everything is a lot better on Starmie.
So what are some shinies that you love? Maybe like 3 of them.
I really love Suicune shiny. I used to have actually a little side tangent as well. Before I used this Suicune, I used one of the events that I'm a Blissey made, and I did an RNG manip and got a shiny Suicune that was like,
ooh,
it was 5 IVs with like 7 IVs in attack, so it was like actually really good.
Jeez.
But I was like, I was gonna make a video on it, but at the same time I was like, well, I don't like doing RNG videos, so I ended up just getting rid of it. Probably Suicune, and then I really like Blaziken shiny in Generation 3. Just like slightly shifted.
I was gonna say that's probably relatively an unpopular opinion, because it's just a very slight, moderate change.
And then I really like Gyarados in Generation 3 specifically, because you can't get like the red Gyarados from Liquor Rage in Gen 3. So you know someone had to actually shiny hunt a Magikarp. Has a little bit more meaning in Gen 3 for me.
The sprite in Fire Red Leaf Green is really cool in my opinion. Like Emerald is okay, but it is cool, don't get me wrong, but I love the Fire Red Leaf Green sprite of it. So cool.
Fire Red and Leaf Green have a lot of cool sprites, but I like the reverse. I like a lot of the sprites of the Kanto Pokemon in Emerald. I think they look so cool because as a kid, I didn't have anybody to trade with these games. I had a single Game Boy, so I was never trading. So seeing their sprites in these games now it's really awesome for me.
Do you have any questions for me or anything you want to ask about? Really anything?
I guess one question, because this became a joke during one of my streams, was what was the idea behind the special attacking Aggron?
The dude is sick. I think. Well, I mean, there's probably multiple ideas, but the one idea is just the fact that same thing with like Tyranitar. It's just this dinosaur that can shoot like laser beams. Like the idea of like a Tyranitar or an Aggron having the like all these special attacking moves like flamethrower, solar beam, or thunderbolt, something like that. It's cool. I don't know, but also I think Steven in the games, his Aggron actually has. I know it has solar beam. I don't know what other moves, but
his has like thunder, solar beam, surf. I only ask because like for the Tyranitar, like undeniably that actually makes sense to me, because utilizing the dark type, having the special attack, I can get behind that. But both steel and rock are physical in this game, and I'm just like, what the heck is going on?
So there isn't. Yeah, okay. There is
one Aggron in the facility that has a bunch of them.
I got it up. It's a modest nature, bright powder, and it's got the moves Surf, Thunder, Fire Blast, and Blizzard, and it's max trained in HP and special attack. That just sounds like just the idea of let's just put all the most powerful moves in the game on this Pokemon that miss a lot and that don't really have any benefit, and then just put it on this cool looking Pokemon and just hope and just like pray.
Yeah, see, and that's the beauty of the Battle Frontier, because something that you came up with, I can look at, I'm thinking, what the heck is this guy doing? And you're like, I just wanted to have some fun. There's no rhyme or reason. I just want to have some fun.
It's funny because like when you really break it down, like that training that Aggron took hours and so much thought, you know, and it's like, you know, I spend maybe like 5 hours in the Battle Frontier trying to make it work, and it's just, you know, getting your butt whooped, and then you're like, what am I doing? And then I don't know. I just it's just like
what no, because I have faced quite a bit of criticism with this Glalie. I had someone tell me that they're like, I think you're a bit too attached and you should just trade it out for a Skarmory. And I was like, you don't understand.
Yeah, you don't understand.
You don't get it.
No, I think yeah, I guess I got two things about that, but real quick, when I built that Fisher Whale Lord, there were some people in the comments that were like, dude, like, are you actually trolling us? Or are you just like, because like I was spending hours breeding for this Whale Lord that was ultimately just going to have Fisher, and then I was actually going to try using it. And I got some people like, they actually thought I was just like trolling them, but I actually just wanted to try it and see if it worked. But that
no, I thought that I actually personally, because I saw all those comments and I was like, I thought it was cool because like you got all the parts that a bulky water needs, which is the Surf, Ice Beam, and then like a recover move. Like why not throw in Fissure?
And yeah, it's just why not at that point?
No, but I spent the first episode you had Riley on, and ever since then, you know, I've been watching his streams and talking to him and hopped in his Discord and everything. So bouncing off a lot of these team ideas in that Discord is really helpful. So, you know, anybody that maybe is newer that is struggling, you know, hop in Riley's stream as well, or Nighthawk's stream, and, you know, hop in, talk to everybody, because it's really helpful getting other ideas and stuff.
You can learn a lot just from bouncing some ideas off of people. Just, and all these people got really random bits and pieces of information. That's why like I love doing like this podcast too, is because everyone's trying to do their own little thing. And like with this Glalie, you know, like I wouldn't know anything about Glalie, but the fact that he gets spikes and explosion, probably wouldn't have learned it any other way.
I'm probably Glalie's strongest soldier.
His #1 fan. Yeah, I think like was it Steelix and Aggron? I think I'm on my like 4th Aggron, and I don't know. I'm trying to make it work out there, but this is probably why I'm not doing good in the Frontiers, is because I'm trying to solar beam some Swampert in the Battle Frontier.
It's definitely a choice, but I think going back to, instead of memeing, instead of making fun of the Aggron, I think if we go back to what we said earlier, where if we go ahead and choose like, okay, I want to build around a special attacking Aggron, you know, and just kind of focusing on those weaknesses that it has, like
we could get it done.
You know, yeah, like for example, if you wanted to go ahead and throw a Ninjask on the team to make it faster, and then, you know, all of a sudden now you're outspeeding that Swampert, and now Solar Beam hits. You know, just little things like that where all of a sudden Aggron's weakness is now supported by another Pokemon on the team that can, you know, raise its speed. You know, something like that.
Even just like set up some light screens or like a sunny day to help boost, you know, the Fire Blast or Flamethrower. Like just little things like that go a pretty long way in the Frontier. Yeah, in a future video, maybe I'll give it a better shot and not throw it on a random team.
I think I would personally like to see a lot more of the live videos that you do where you go through the tower and use your teams and give your thoughts. Even if you just do it in a live stream and then kind of cut it up in a highlight video, I think that would be good.
Yeah, I probably should do that. Is any other fun questions you want to ask or chat about?
I guess a fun question I have is, are you going to be doing any of the battle facilities in Generation 5 once you play through those games?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's far down the road. I need to get these 2 other shinies for Gen 4. Then I want to bang out the battle tower there. But then I think, like, yeah, I'm still not even done with the Gen 5 like game. I haven't even made a video about it yet. But once we beat that game, I think I want to get the shiny charm first, and then I want to breed for 3 shinies on that to make a team for that. So we're talking probably at least a year, probably 2 or 3 years till we get to there. But yes, it's on the plate.
Shiny Charm is hard in that game,
I
but
know
I believe in you.
we could get it. It'll take some time, but you know what? Well, no rush. But yeah, I definitely want a shiny Haxorus and like a shiny Gigalith. They're so cool.
Shiny Gigalith is awesome. I'd say Gen 5 is probably the last generation I really enjoy playing. I
agree.
don't like anything past there.
Yeah, I agree. I don't even know what the next generation after that was. It the Kalos region? Actually, I think.
Generation 6, I think that's
No, what's all?
Sun and Moon.
Yeah, I don't even know what starters those are. Unfortunately,
I don't keep. I think like I don't know. They all kind of blend together. X and Y, Sun and Moon. But I've never played any of those. I think the only Gen 6 game I played was the remakes of Gen 3, and I played through it one time, and I was like, this is not Gen 3.
Oh, the Pokemon Go one, is that it?
It was just so easy.
Yeah.
It was too easy. Just with the Mega evolving, Swampert just kind of was even better somehow. I don't know how that happened, but Swampert all of a sudden became like S tier to S plus plus tier. So
what's on the plate for you? You got any videos planned in the near future? People to get excited about?
So for sure, I have been streaming. So anybody who wants to kind of hop in the streams, I try to put out a stream once a week as long as I'm able to. I usually stream on Fridays as to not mess with Nighthawk and Riley's stream schedule because I don't want to separate the viewers.
Don't worry about us. You do you.
but I have really been in the lab with Glalie. The next video is probably going to be the journey we've had with Glalie, taking bits and pieces from the live streams, all the iterations of the team, kind of talking about why I chose Glalie, and then kind of retiring him. He's been putting in a lot of work, but I really hopefully can get the gold symbol soon in the tower because I'm trying to get that one knocked out so that we can move on to more fun facilities like the pyramid, doing some fun strategies with that. Trying to make a video once a month, but the tower is proving to be difficult.
It is quite hard.
I guess one thing I'll ask the people watching is kind of, what they would prefer to see from me, because I tried to have my own unique style compared to you and the other people making videos and stuff. Because a lot of people have, or not a lot of people, but a few people have commented saying, hey, you should record your videos like Nighthawk. I'm like, well, if I do everything like Nighthawk, then might as well just watch a Nighthawk video.
Good point.
So I guess, what people would prefer to see from me, so then it's not just, you're not just getting the same exact thing that you get from Mr. Nighthawk here.
I guess maybe contrary or maybe similar question to that is, like, what do you enjoy sharing the most?
I love like just building the Pokemon. I think that's probably you and I's biggest addiction, maybe, because we build all these Pokemon and then we just never use them.
Or you use it for like a minute and you're like, I gotta play this other one.
I need to get better at using my Pokemon, but I really enjoy making videos on like the actual building of the Pokemon, which are not always the most exciting things to watch, which I understand. So it probably goes building the Pokemon and then probably like actual facility stuff. And then here and there, I like to throw in some guides as well, some breeding guides, some glitches, stuff like that.
Like for me, I like to make tutorials because they're so informative, or like guides, but I just don't like making them. Like I don't know. It just doesn't fit, I guess, me. Like I'd rather just ramble about this really dumb looking Pokemon about how I'm trying to suffer through it than structure a video to educate people. But that's just personal preference.
Yeah, my most recent video was kind of going over Fire Red and how it's basically gone through like a whole glitching renaissance, basically, to where now you can just create any Pokemon you wanted. So I've always been someone like I started my channel as a way for everybody to create Pokemon as fast as possible, as optimally as possible. So if we wanted to go ahead and cover everything related to Gen 3, then obviously I would need to cover this method. So I enjoyed making that video. I've used the ACE method a bit for making Pokemon, obviously. But personally, I think now that I've, used my new toy, I would probably want to go back to the original style that kind of you introduced me to, where it's IV breeding, all that type of stuff.
Real quick on one thing you mentioned before is like maybe those videos about the breeding and training may not be the most maybe exciting to watch, but also I think just from what I've experienced, videos don't have to be exciting. I think a lot of people just enjoy maybe just people rambling or just sharing something not even exciting in a sense, just for the sake of the conversation. So I wouldn't be, I guess, deterred from, making those videos because they're definitely entertaining to a pretty good group of people.
You say that, but my first Blaziken video got 3 dislikes.
3 dislikes?
It got the first thing. No one liked it, but then it got 1 dislike. I was just like, oh.
And they just flooded
Maybe
it.
people don't like this. It has like 4 likes and 3 dislikes. I was like, geez, no one likes Blaziken.
Well, here's something really funny though. Every time I post a video, somebody immediately dislikes it. So I think somebody as a member is just hating the videos. Like so everybody's out there.
So they gave you money just to hate on the video? You're a weirdo.
I know, it's great. I think it's funny.
That's probably Riley.
He's trying to bring down the channel so he gets his views up.
He's trying to overtake you. Now that he's got his 100 streak, he needs to overtake
he thinks
you now.
He's better than me.
Thinks he's better than you.
Well, I guess technically he is in the battle tower, right?
Well, he needs to go ahead and get his 100 streak in the Emerald Battle Tower.
Yeah,
where
that's where the
AI actually has a brain.
Feel bad was roasting Riley. He probably watched this though.
It's all right. His favorite thing to roast me for is during my streams, my girlfriend usually comes home from work. Mm-hmm. So he'll always say, "Oh, your quote girlfriend," and then she's just a soundboard and all that stuff. So this is my little payback against him right now.
It's a fair trade, I guess, or fair payback.
No, I'd say probably though everybody here who is making content has been very nice and informative as well. I think this is probably one of the better Gen 3 communities. It's, everybody has, some input, but it's not the type of input where it's just always negative. It's, oh, that's not a Pokemon I would choose, but if you want to use that, this is what I would do. That type of thing. So it's really helpful, as well as like bigger creators helping out smaller creators. Everybody says they do it, but this like Nighthawk is the only person really I have seen where he lets someone who has like 1% of their subscriber onto his channel. You know what I mean? So I'd say this is probably one of the most welcoming communities I've been a part of.
Well, some good words to hear. Makes you feel kind of good.
Kind of good.
Yeah, I genuinely.
You should feel good.
I try to stay humble.
You have created an entire Gen 3 community. I don't think you realize that.
I mean, how I see it is more like a communities of a bunch of different people that come together. Maybe there's like some focal point to it, but like it's essentially every individual in that community is like a part of it. So I don't really see myself as, I guess, creating anything. It just kind of built itself.
From my perspective, and like I can respect that. I think you're a little bit too humble though. But from my perspective, my first video was like an EV training guide that I saw from a method I saw from I'm a Blissey and Papa Hefe using, who are 2 Gen 3 RNG YouTubers. And then I got introduced to your channel and I saw what you were doing. I'm like, this is something I have never seen before. And this is exactly what I am looking for. So truthfully, if you had not been making videos, then I probably would have just made that Gen 3 EV training guide, and that would be the only video on my channel, truthfully.
You never know, though. Maybe you could have been maybe done the same thing though eventually, but maybe.
Maybe, but you beat me to it.
I think like the community. One thing like kind of you mentioned that I love is people saying, "Hey, I wouldn't do that, but if you were gonna do that, here's my thoughts on that." And I think it's just people having an understanding on what this is about. It's not about. I mean, you obviously want gold symbols and whatever and get to high as possible, but it's also doing it in a certain way to make the experience better. And I think when everyone's baseline with that, or like with that being the baseline like mindset, I think it just makes for a lot better conversations and like respect for what other people are trying to do.
Yeah,
Or like how they're
exactly.
going to build their team. But yeah, you make some good points. All right, well, it's been a pleasure chatting. Where can everybody find you if they want to either ask about this team, either how to use it or give some criticism about it and how to improve? How do you want people to reach out to you?
So obviously you guys can find me on YouTube as Amaryllis, as well as if you want to, I'm in Riley's Discord chat. So if you want to join Riley's Discord, it's a full Gen 3 community where we talk about any sort of, teams or Pokemon that you want to build or any ideas that you're having. So I would recommend hopping in there to find me. I don't have Twitter, I don't have Instagram, I don't have any of that stuff. So, or you can hop in a stream and ask me a question. I usually try to stream on Fridays, and I usually put when I'm streaming into Riley's chat. So that is the best place to probably find me, but definitely check out my YouTube if you want to kind of see how these teams end up doing.
You'll definitely leave all the links in the description if you guys want to go check them out, but also pretty sure Ambrose is going to leave a comment, and then I'll definitely pin that as well if you want to just find the channel even easier.
Yes, sir.
Well, it's definitely a pleasure having you. Great conversation. Love seeing Steelix and the very interesting Glalie, which I am wondering if we'll see it again on a future episode in somebody else, but it's definitely a pretty unique Pokemon. But it's definitely enjoyable to hear about.
I appreciate it. There have been a few people that have said they want to make a Glalie, and some people saw the Steelix, so you might see more Steelix on the podcast as well.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on the show, hanging out, chatting. It's been very enjoyable. Take care, and thanks everybody for listening. If you enjoyed, be sure to stick around. We got a whole bunch more episodes coming in the near future. But yeah, thank you everybody.